Hi, today in this video we are going to learn how you can use this Notion template to set up invoice payment reminders to your customer all on automation. So what you see on screen is the exact template which we are going to use for this automation. Essentially in this template we have the following columns. The first is the customer name, where you can enter the customer name over here. Then we have the email of the customer, where you can enter the email of the desired customer. Then we have the invoice details, so you can specify the details related to invoice over here. Then we have the invoice number. After this we have invoice amount. Then we have the status of the invoice. So if the invoice is under the paid status, this means the payment of the invoice has been done. If the invoice is under due status, this means that the payment of the invoice is still pending due. Then we have the due date of the payment for the invoice, and finally we have the invoice that we can attach as a PDF over here. So this is how we are going to set up the entire template for automation. And if you have a look at the message that we're going to receive, this is an exact copy of the automated reminder message that I have just received on this particular email. So if you notice, you can see that the name of the sender is over here. So if I click on this and open this, you can see that the name of the sender is visible over here. Then on the subject line we have the invoice number mentioned, and it is reading as invoice number 3 is due soon and action is required on this. Okay, so invoice number 3, it picked up from the database. If you see in the database, we have the invoice number 3 reflected over here for the payment that has not been done for customer 3. Okay, if you scroll down and you click on this, you can see that the sender name is mentioned over here. Then the customer's email ID is put over here. So this is notionautomation@gmail.com, and if you see this database, we have the same email that is reflecting over here for the invoice that has not been paid. Now if you read the particular body of the invoice, it says that the dear customer 3. So customer 3 is the name of the customer which I specified over here. Okay, and if you read the entire message, we hope this message finds you well. We greatly appreciate your business and would like to remind you that invoice 3 is due for payment on February 6, 2024. So invoice 3 is reflecting over here in the invoice number, and the due date is picked up from this part. Okay, so February 6, 2024. And if you move on, we have the other invoice details. That is the invoice number, the invoice is raised for what, then the due date of the invoice, the total amount of the invoice. Okay, so invoice number is invoice 3, which we have picked from here. Then the invoice is raised for service 3, which we have picked from here. Okay, the invoice details. Then the due date is February 6, 2024, which we have again picked from here, and the total amount is $150, which we have picked from here. Now you can change this invoice amount to any preferred currency of your choice. It is completely dependent upon you. For this demonstration, I'm putting a $sign next to the amount, and we're going to proceed further. Then in the body, we have to ensure a smooth and uninterrupted partnership. We kindly request you that you process the payment by the due date mentioned above. Prompt payment helps us maintain the high level of service you expect. Now you can entirely customize this message as per your requirement. This is just a sample template. Then we have the payment options, where you can put the bank account detail, the SWIFT code, and all the relevant details. Okay, so you can customize this as per your business needs. Then it says that furthermore we have attached the invoice for your convenience. So if you scroll down, you can see that it has also got the invoice attachment, which is invoice3.pdf. Okay, it is the same invoice which are attached against this particular invoice. You can also edit this part and enter your business details over here, and you can completely customize this entire body of the message as per your requirement as well. So now we'll have a look how we are going to set up this automation using Notion and Pabbly Connect, which is going to be the automation tool that will help us set up this entire automation workflow. Let's get started. So now let's start setting up this entire automation. So first of all, if you see the invoice payment reminder automation, we will need help of 3 applications. That is the Pabbly Connect, which is a no-code automation software that will help us set up the entire workflow. Then we will use Notion, which is kind of the note-taking and productivity app, where we will store all the information related to the invoices. Then we will require the assistance of Gmail, where we'll be sending all these automated payment reminders through Gmail to our customers. So over here we simply need to follow 3 simple steps to start setting up this automation for our use. First is we need to create an account in Pabbly Connect, which will help us start getting the automation in correct order. So you'll click on this link over here to create an account on Pabbly Connect for automation. Once you click on this link, you will be redirected to this page where you can sign up for free over here. As you can see in this box over here, you can sign up for a free account over here. Once you sign up, you will be able to click on this particular link in the step 2, where you will be provided with this clone of the automation that I have built for myself, and you can clone this entire automation setup onto your Pabbly Connect dashboard to start using the automation. So once you click on this link, you will be redirected to this page, which will ask you to clone this entire automation onto your Pabbly Connect account. You can click on this try now button. It will create a clone of this particular automation on your Pabbly Connect account which you have created. Okay, so once you click on this try now button, it will redirect you to this particular dashboard. So if you see this dashboard, this is my Pabbly Connect dashboard where I've set up different automations for my particular use. You need to focus on this particular automation that we see on the top, that is the invoice payment reminder. It may be renamed differently in your Pabbly Connect dashboard, but essentially you can see this trigger sign, that is a clock sign, and the Notion sign. Okay, so once you see this thing, you can click on this workflow over here to see the entire automation setup that we have, that we need to configure for our use case. Okay, so before we get started setting up this entire workflow for our requirement, make sure that you keep this button on over here. This will help to enable the entire workflow whenever you have set it up correctly. Okay, make sure you check this particular button and it is put into on status. So how you can know about this is, if you go back to the dashboard, once you click on over here, you can see that this automation will be set into active status. Okay, you can see that some automations over here are inactive status, but once you click on the on button, it will be set into active status. Okay, so now let's see and understand how we are going to set up the entire workflow for the automation to happen. So essentially I have laid out everything for you. You just need to follow the particular information that I'm going to present to you, and you will be able to get this entire automation started. Okay, before starting the entire stuff, just go into this settings panel over here in the Pabbly Connect dashboard. Once you go to the settings panel, you will be able to see the time zone over here. Okay, just click on this time zone and set the particular time zone as per your particular requirement. So I have set it to 5 hours 30 minutes GMT time. You can click on this drop down over here, you can set to particular time zone as per your specified location. Okay, once you have set the time zone, click on save, and it will save the entire time zone as per your specific local time. And now we are ready to get started with the automation that we're going to understand. So let me go back to the dashboard, then I'll click on this invoice payment reminder. Once I click on this, let's see what we are going to set up over here. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to trigger, that is we're going to enable this automation on daily basis. Okay, so every day this particular automation will trigger, and it will check in the particular database if any of the invoice is under due status. Okay, so on a daily basis it will check the entire database that you will build in due course of time, and it will see if any of the invoice is under due status. Then it will trigger the automation for the further steps. Okay, so if you see this is a schedule by Pabbly which is provided by default, and you can see that I have set it on daily basis. If you click on this drop down, there are several options. You can set it on regular intervals, you can set it once and it will not trigger anymore. You can set it to trigger on particular days of the week or on particular dates of the month, but for our use case I'm going to set it on a daily basis. So I will click on every day, and you can set the time over here. So I have the timing that is set over here is 12:31. You can set it to any time as per your requirement, and you can configure the entire automation from here on. Okay, so let's say you want to set it on 10 a.m. In the morning. So what you can do is you can go to the 10 and you can select 0 over here, so it will set it to 10 a.m. just to show you a scenario. So I have set it to 10 and I click on save. Okay, once you click on save, now this automation will trigger every day at 10 o'clock in the morning. You can see it is showing the 10 o'clock local time for me over here. Whatever time you will set in the settings panel, it will automatically reflect as per that. Okay, this timing is as per your local time. Do not worry about any other thing. You can see that it is showing the local time over here. So whatever time you set over here, it is as per your local time. Now let's click on save. Once you do that, now we'll go to the second step. So here you need to link your Notion database which you would have copied onto your workspace. So over here you can see that this is the template which you will be getting access to, and if you click on this 3 dot, you can click on this layout and you can click on this database title. It shows the name of the database Notion template that you will be getting access to. Okay, so it reads db_ invoice payment reminder. So basically this is an invoice payment reminder database that I have built. So what I wanted to highlight over here is, if I click on hide database title, it will hide the title. If you go back to the automation setup, you can essentially see that we have created a query in your database which you do not need to worry about. Click on this connected over here. Once you click on this connected, it will take you to this new screen. Over here you can click on this three dot on the right side. Okay, click on this three dot and click on update connection. Once you click on update connection, you can click on this checkbox and click on connect with Notion. Okay, once you click on connect with Notion, it will open up the login page for your use case. So whatever Notion account you have registered under Notion, you can select that account and click on select pages. Okay, once you click on select pages, it will show you all the different templates that you have enabled on your workspace. Click on the particular template that you have copied onto your workspace with the desired name. So let's say you copied this template that I have given access to you in Invoice Payment Reminder, so that will be reflected over here. Okay, currently this template is stored under Notion automations in my case. So I'll click on this checkbox and I'll click on allow access. Okay, so in your scenario, whatever might be the name of the template you would have stored the template in, click on that particular checkbox and it will start reflecting the necessary database. I'll click on allow access. Once I click on allow access, it will start getting connected. You can see that it is showing connected over here, and I can click on update. Okay, once I click on update, the connection has been set up properly. Now I can click on save. Once I click on save, now I will be able to see the databases over here. You can see that it is reflecting db_invoice payment reminders, and if you have noticed, we had the same exact name over here in the database title. It is db_invoice payment reminders. So essentially what it is saying is now the database is connected under the Notion application, which will be using in an action window. Okay, so you need to connect similarly in your scenario, selecting the appropriate template from the login panel what I just showed you. You can keep rest of the information intact, nothing to change over here. Just click on save and send test request. Okay, once you click on this, all the information that you have in a Notion database will be sent over here. But make sure before you click on save and send test request, you can disable this simple response. Okay, so you can disable this and then click on save and send test request. Enabling that will not help us, so make sure you have disabled this and you click on save and send test request. Let's click over here to minimize this window. So once this is done, let me click over here. Now you can go to the iterator step. Click on this iterator, that is the third step. Click on refresh fields once. Okay, once you click on refresh fields, it will automatically capture all the information that is stored previously, and click on save and send test request. Okay, so every time you just have to click on save and send test request once before you proceed to the next step. You can see that it is showing a response has been received. So whatever input we had given in the database, it is capturing over here. Let's proceed further. Under the customer name, you can just simply click on this refresh fields once, and then you can click on save and send test request. Okay, so we'll just quickly do this one by one. So I've clicked on save and send test request. It has captured the customer name. You can see that it is capturing customer 3, which was this particular customer whose invoice is under due status. Okay, so then I'm proceeding further. I can also click on save over here, so it can save that information over there. Then you click on customer email. So what we need in the customer email is notionautomations@gmail.com. Okay, so click on refresh fields once so that everything refreshes. You can see that it is automatically showing Notion automations over here. I'll click on save and send test request. So again it will save the data over here in this automation workflow. You can see that it is getting saved. Click on save and keep on following till the very end of the workflow. Okay, so we'll start saving each and every information one by one. So far we have saved the customer name, customer email, and now we're going to the invoice details. Okay, so under invoice details we have just typed in service 3. You can type in anything over here and it will automatically project over there. Okay, so I'll click on refresh fields and it will now show me service 3. Okay, so I'll click on save and send test request. You can see it is showing service 3 over here. So as we had mentioned over here, it is automatically projecting. I'll click on save. Then I'll go with the invoice number. So the invoice number is this particular number, INV-003. So I'll click on refresh fields once so that it captures the current information. Then I'll click on save and send test request. Okay, this entire thing you just need to do it once, then the automation will trigger automatically every time on daily basis at the time you have set. So you can see it is showing invoice 3. Let me click on save. Once this is done, I'll go to the invoice amount section. Now the invoice amount always reflects the number. It doesn't reflect the particular currency that is associated with the invoice. That is why you can see it is mentioned as invoice amount. In the bracket I put raw. Okay, so I'll click on refresh fields and it will just capture the number. You can see it is only capturing the number, which is 150. That is $150. It is only capturing the number. Okay, so I'll click on save and send text request and you can see that the number has been captured. Okay, but I also want to put the $sign along with it. So I'll just click on save over here in this step Then I'll go to the invoice amount. Then the next step, okay, I'll click on refresh fields, and now you can see that the 150 along with the dollar will also come over here. So I'll just click on save and send test request. You can see that the number got replaced with the dollar sign. Okay, now over here you can see that in the replace field I have just put dollar over here. You can put any preferred currency over here, and you can click on save and send test request. That currency will reflect over here. Okay, just to give a scenario, let's say I'm putting over here euro. Okay, so I'll put euro over here, and I'll click on save and send test request. It will start reflecting euro over here. Okay, so you can put any symbol over here, and accordingly that dollar sign will, that currency sign will reflect over here. Because I'm putting it back to dollar, and I'll click on save and send test request. Now this is capturing this information. So this means all the invoice amount will have a dollar sign associated with it. Okay, I'll still proceed further. Then we'll go to the due date. So the due date is nothing but this date that you see over here, February 6, 2024. So I'll click on refresh fields. Now I'll click on save and send test request. It will start to show me the due date. Now this due date is not exactly how I want to see it while I send the email. So I'll create another different type of due date over here. So just modify these fields. So I'll click on the next due date over here and click on refresh fields. It will capture the due date from the top, and I'll click on save and send test request. Okay, now you can see that due date is coming appropriate in the format how we wanted to see it. Okay, so it's coming February 6, 2024, which is also reflecting over here. Okay, then we can go with the invoice name. So the invoice name is nothing but the invoice 3 that we had attached over here. So whatever invoice you attach over here, it will capture the name of that particular invoice over here. Okay, so I'll just click on refresh field once, then I'll go with the save and send test request. It will capture the invoice name over here. Okay, if you see that the name is showing as invoice3.pdf, which is the exact same one that's reflected over here. Okay, then I'll click on save button. I'll go with the invoice URL. So invoice URL is whatever attachment you have given over here. It will capture that entire invoice URL in one go. So I'll click on refresh fields once, then I'll click on save and send test request. Now it will capture the entire invoice URL over here. Okay, so essentially what we did up till now is we first enabled the trigger in the trigger window, where we told the Pabbly Connect software to run every day at 10 o'clock in the morning and check if any of the invoices that we have listed out in this Notion database over here, the database db_invoice payment reminders, if any of the invoices have a status of due. Okay, so if it's checking each and every invoice, and it is figuring out which invoice is under due status. If anything is under due status, then proceed to the next steps that we have on the screen. Okay, this is all that we are doing so far. So we are doing it step by step. So now everything is captured in this entire workflow. The final step is sending the email to the desired customer. So we'll click on this Gmail over here. You can see that the action event is put to send email. Okay, so I'll click on this connected once again. I'll click on connected, and here I can click on this 3 dot and I can click on update connection. Okay, I will click on this checkbox. I'll click on connect with Gmail. Now you can specify the particular Gmail account from where you will be sending the email to the customer. So this will be the sender's email ID, which will be going to the customer's email ID. So whatever would be the business email ID or whatever ID through which you are going to send the email to the customer, you can select the particular email. Okay, in my use case, I'm going to select this Notion for my use at gmail.com. So I'll click on this, and then I will give all the access. So I can click on continue over here. It will have the access to the particular Gmail, and then I'll click on update. Okay, once this is done, I'll click on save. So now my email is particularly connected. Okay, I'll just click on refresh fields once so that all the information is captured properly, and then I can scroll down to the bottom, and now I'll click on save and send test request. Okay, so if I click on save and send test request, it will check the database and it will see whichever invoice is under due status. It will send an email to that particular email. So here you can see that we have got Notion automations at gmail.com. So we should be receiving an email on this particular email with the invoice payment reminder once we click on the save and send test request. Okay, so I'll click on save and send test request, and once I click on this, you will be able to see that it has received a response and it has sent a particular email. Okay, now in this automation we are using Gmail, and Gmail has a free quota of 100 emails every day. Okay, it provides a free quota of sending 100 emails on daily basis, so you can utilize up to 100 invoices, 100 emails over here. Okay, so I'll click on save, and then I'll go back to my email ID, and if you see in my particular email, I will receive that automation email over here. So you can see that we have received an automation just now, which is 1:57 p.m. that is my local time. So I'll just click on this, and you can see this was the earlier email that I was showing you, which is reflecting 1 hour ago, and this is the latest email which I've received right now. Okay, so 0 minutes ago. If you click on this three dot, all the information that we had seen earlier is showing over here. Okay, now let me show you the exact use case scenario, how it will exactly function. Okay, so if I go back to this invoice payment reminder template, let me just change some information over here. So let me just put the name as Notion user. So this will be my customer name, which is Notion user. Okay, the invoice details is service for Notion, let's say. Okay, invoice number is, let's say, 157, and the invoice amount is, let's say, $350. Okay, this is under due status. The due date of the invoice is, let's say, February 29. Okay, and we have got the invoice attachment over here as well. Now let me go back to this entire automation, and let me trigger this automation at 2 p.m. So right now we are in 1:59, so let me select 2 p.m. so it will be correct. So let's say it's 2, it's 0. Okay, I think, okay, it will be 14:00. It's working 24-hour format. I'll click on save. Once I do that, this automation is scheduled to run on 2 p.m. on a daily basis. So we are right now on 1:59. Let's just wait 1 minute so that it hits 2 o'clock, and I'll receive an automation over here. So meanwhile, let me delete this, and I will be receiving an email over here. So you can see that I'll be receiving an email very soon over here. You can see now I just received an email at 2 o'clock with the same details that had updated in the database. You can see the invoice number has been changed to 157. We had 157 over here as the invoice number. Okay, then the due date is February 29, 2024, which is over here. Okay, then if you see the details, the total amount is $350, which we had reflected over here, and all the other information is still intact. It is service for Notion, which we had specified over here. So as you keep making changes to this particular database, you keep making changes to the email and the due status, it will automatically send invoice payment reminders to those customers who have status as due. So once the customer pays the amount, just make sure to click over here and change it to paid status, and then the invoice payment reminder won't send any more emails to the particular customer. Okay, so here you can keep on adding more and more details and change the status to paid or due, whatever the case may be, and accordingly the automation software will run, and it will help you send the automated triggers to the customer through Gmail. I hope this explanation was clear to you. Few things I wanted to highlight. If you face any issues with any kind of setting up this workflow as we discussed, feel free to reach out to the Pabbly Connect automation team. They are really quick to respond, and they'll help you set up this entire workflow for you if you have any issues. I'll be providing their support email ID over here, as well as I will be providing my own support ID under this video, so you can reach out to me if you face any issues. Okay, I hope this explanation was clear to you, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask to me, or you have any suggestions for any further automations, please feel free to drop and comment under this video. Okay, I'll be happy to assist you on this. Thank you.